Good morning. I'm Andrea Vanderluke. I'm an associate circuit judge in Sheraton County, Missouri. I'm here to speak along with these ladies on Missouri Telehealth. We have Kathy Hoppy, who is and I have to read her title off because I only know Kathy by first name. So, Vice President of Treatment Services with Preferred Family Health Care. And then we also have Angela Plunkett, who is the Treatment Court Coordinator for Missouri Office of State Courts Administrators. We're going to tag team this presentation. I'll start out with my situation specifically and some of the issues that we had as a rural county. And then we'll do a demonstration with Kathy, and Angie will follow up with some data and funding issues. So we'll cover a few topics today. Why we use telehealth, history and demo of telehealth, which will be the most interesting portion, and it's not my portion of the program. Statewide use that we're currently implementing, and then some possible future uses that we're looking for. So when I say I'm from Sheraton County, Missouri, people automatically say, well, is that near St. Louis or Kansas City? Well, we're not near anything. You can see that we're in the middle of the state. We have a population of about 7,800 people. Do not have any big industry, no hospital in the county. We do have a couple of health clinics. It's very rural. So we have a lot of challenges for the folks in our county who are looking for treatment services. And when I came on the bench in 2011, I wanted to start a drug court. We are in a circuit of 3 counties. The other 2 counties had drug court operating. The circuit as a whole had come on in 2001 under a federal grant. But in 2005, when it ran out, Sheraton County stopped their program due to funding and difficulty in finding treatment. So when I came on, I wanted to look into starting that again. And first thing, of course, is try to find counseling services. I called probably 5 or 6 different counseling providers, which is a lot in our area to find 5 or 6 that are even anywhere close. And so some didn't call me back. Some said, no, we don't service your area. Nobody claimed to service our area, even though one provider is supposed to have a county. A provider is supposed to cover a county. We still haven't found out who's supposed to be covering us. But I called Kathy at Preferred, and she said, well, let me look at something, and then I'll get back to you, which was more than I'd gotten from anybody else. She did call me back, and what she came back with was a virtual counseling program. And that's the part that we're going to be showing you in a few minutes. So when we're talking about challenges in our area, obviously we have transportation issues, not only because of where we are. We don't have any public transportation. We don't have any taxis, no Uber. There's just nothing. And when you're talking about getting people to counseling, getting them to court, we take not only drug cases but DWI cases, and those people do not have licenses. They're relying on others to transport them back and forth. So transportation is always an issue. Employment, the biggest employer in our area is agriculture. That's seasonal at best. And for these folks to find a job is a challenge, and to keep it is even harder. So if we can get them their counseling services and treat their addiction and still allow them to have a job, it's a huge, huge benefit for them. Educational services for GED classes, any kind of post-secondary, it's at least 30 miles, probably more like 60 miles for them to travel to get those. Healthcare, we have 2 clinics. One is primarily staffed by a nurse practitioner. We do not have mental health services in our county at all. The closest would be, again, 30 miles up to 90 miles, depending on what kind of services you need. So mental health services are very hard to come by. And even if you can get in the door, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks down the road at best. So some of these folks need help a lot sooner than that. And we're always struggling with those mental health issues. It seems more and more they come in, not only do they have an addiction, but they've got some other psychological service or disorder that's going along with it, and you've got to treat both at once. Healthcare, daycare. We do have parents finding daycare to do your treatment. To attend court can be a difficulty. They don't have the big support system. Their support system is not somebody that you want watching your child when they come in. And so finding daycare, both financially and an appropriate person, can be a big issue for us. Sober support, we have a few groups in our county, but for them to travel to other counties or get other support systems outside of our small area, sometimes difficult. We live in a small town. Everybody knows everybody's business. And sometimes they're not comfortable going to those people when they're looking for support because they know your parents, they know what you did. They see them as having a preconceived notion of who they are and what's expected of them. So that can be a struggle for some of our folks that need sober support but don't feel comfortable going to the groups there locally. We have no drug-free housing. That is it's just non-existent where we are. And we have had to turn people away because they can't find a home plan in our area and have had to go to other areas to try to find somewhere to live while they try to get into recovery somewhere. Drug testing, this is one area where we have found a very good solution. We have a random treatment or a random call-in. It's very shoestring. We have these vendors out here who want to sell us plans. We don't have any money. So what we did was there's an answering system at the courthouse. I call in when I wake up in the morning and set the color, and they have to call in by, it's set by 7. They call in anytime between 7 and 9, but if they haven't reported for their color by 9, then it's considered a missed, dirty, and we have a very strict schedule of sanctions that go with it. So they know if they miss, this is what's going to happen. But that's, like I said, it's a shoestring budget. And thankfully, our sheriff's department has agreed to do those tests. There's somebody there all the time. There's a female there all the time. So they just report there. And they let us know if there's a problem or if somebody didn't report. So we've been very fortunate there. But again, these programs out here, they're great if you have money. We don't have any money. Treatment capacity. Our court has varied greatly in numbers. And to have a decent group size, sometimes we've struggled because we're just low on numbers. Or if we wanted a co-occurring group, we don't have enough people for a co-occurring group. But if you pull in from other areas, which we are allowed to do with virtual counseling, then we can address those needs better than just our area. And likewise with treatment services, to have enough people for a group sometimes at specific times of the day. We don't have anyone coming into our location in person. And if they did, it would probably just be one day a week. And that's pretty limiting when you have somebody who's just coming out of a treatment in DOC or coming out of an inpatient. They're going to need more services than one day a week. So we have a lot of hurdles, but we found a way to address at least some of them. When Kathy called me back about virtual counseling, she explained it. It was a program that they'd use starting out for adolescents coming out of inpatient treatment. They had a lot of the same hurdles to overcome that our adult treatment court participants had. They don't have transportation. Their support, which is usually a parent, is not the most supportive, is not going to be good about getting them to their appointments. So they need to be able to get their outpatient services without having to rely too much on those supports, which a lot of them don't have. So they actually go to online, and there is an avatar. They have an avatar. The counselor is sitting wherever they are, have their avatar, and they actually interact on a platform in real time by typing. You'll see this. I know it sounds weird. So she proposed this to me, and she showed me, and I was really excited. I'm like, great, this sounds perfect for what we need. It solves transportation. I was too. I didn't have any other option. I had to be excited. So it solves transportation issues, daycare issues, employment issues. And so when we proposed this at our state drug court conference to Office of State Court Administrators, I wish I had taken a picture of their faces. They were, this is not going to work. There's no way we're going to let this happen. But thankfully they did. They gave us a shot. They kept data, and we've been going strong ever since. So as out there as it seems and still seems to people. We've got the data to back us up, and it's been very successful. We've had a gentleman who worked at a meat market, had worked there forever. DWI, so transportation was always going to be an issue. They let him do it on his lunch break. He took his laptop to work, logged in, did his counseling, went back to work. And that would have taken him out of work probably at least 2 days a week, traveling half an hour there, half an hour back, at least. That's if he could get into counseling in Moberly. We've had parents with small children. We have people who don't have a driver's license. We have had a few clients that are older gentlemen who have had issues with the typing. And so we've had to modify it a little bit when they came in, do a little more Skype, a little more talking on the phone, but we've made it. And we did have one gentleman who had some literacy issues, which was a little bit of a challenge in group. And one-on-one he did fine, but when you get in a group setting, it was hard for him to keep up. So we had to modify that a little bit. We do have our counselor who is there once a week for court anyway, and what she does is she holds an MRT group after court, so everybody does get to see her once a week and interact with her in person. But the rest of our services are all virtual. In our other 2 counties in our circuit, we've supplemented those clients. Maybe they need some more counseling services than the counselors can provide. The county north of us, Lynn County, has 1 counselor. She's always booked. So if you have somebody that's struggling, someone that needs maybe a specialty group, she can't do it. She just does not have the time. And so we can supplement with the virtual. Same thing in Sullivan County. They have a counselor that comes in once a week, twice a week. And so that books that person up. And again, if they don't have time in their calendar and someone is struggling, you can put this in place as another component to their treatment in addition to what they're receiving traditionally. So with that, I will let you view the virtual counseling with Kathy. Do you want this on the stand?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Did you have a question? You want to ask now or later? So, yeah, Judge Andrea was excited that there was counseling options, but it really was funny because I didn't even want to tell her over the phone. So I went back, and it's about a 2-hour drive for me. And I went back and I said, okay. And she gathered her team, probation officer and drug court administrator. And I'm like, so this is what I'm thinking we might be able to do, because it was kind of a leap for us too. We were in the beginning stages of this. We had done this with adolescents, and we had a grant to do it with adolescents, and then we had a grant to do it with young adults. So they sit around the table after I showed them and kind of did this a little bit, and then the probation officers is like, it's not like we got anything else, so. So we were off, and we haven't stopped since. But kind of as I said, we started this in 2008. So we were just talking earlier, and somebody was like, really? And I'm like, I understand exactly what you're talking about, because I was the same way when they came to me and said, hey, Kathy, you're going to run this program. I'm like, I'm going to do what? And Angie's like, that's not what you said when you said me. I'm like, yeah, but that was a few years later. I was convinced by that time. So as you can see, we started in 2008. The use in Sheridan County came about 2011, I think. We've done a lot of things other than that, kind of specialty groups, veterans, same thing that Judge Andrew was talking about. We have a lot of rural areas. We may have one veteran in that drug court or in our treatment program. They can't really form a group and gain support from their peers when there's one of them. So we can pull them all together throughout our agency with virtual. We've done the same thing with LBGT population. We are doing in drug courts where, how many of you are from rural areas? Probably a lot of you, or you wouldn't be in here. So you know that The rural areas kind of get all the newbie counselors because once you get some experience and some whiskers and there's a chance to transfer in and you don't have to use your time to travel, those people do that, and then they have to hire somebody else for that position. So to get someone that has enough experience to do co-occurring or to do trauma or to do female groups specifically, I'm a treatment provider. I have those rural clinics, and I hear the frustration from my referral sources, but there's not much I can do about it. I can't make someone stay out there because then they're just going to leave my whole agency, right? So I have to let them transfer in or they leave, and that puts me putting the new associate counselor out there again that just does not provide the same array of services that someone else does. But if we can do it virtually, we can change that. We can get experienced clinicians wherever they need to be. So this is what we call, we're really, really unique with our names. Like our first one was Portal 1, and our second one was Portal 2, and this one was Portal Plus. So we were really, really unique with our names and how we named things. But we were able to, after Judge Andrea brought to light the need that drug courts had, and that OSCA kind of went with it, then we were able to get a grant from SAMHSA that was just for this population. So Judge Andrea was on the forefront, and her county was the first one, but she was by far not the last one, as we addressed all of these concerns that she was talking about in multiple rural counties. For our grant, the counties in yellow are the ones that were in that project. Now I have probably that many more that I'm serving through other funds. But these were the counties that we provided the services for initially, that we have the data from. So I'm going to show you some data too. All of those counties used the virtual services differently. Judge Andrea used it for all of her treatment services because she had nothing else. Some of our counties used our services for all of their participants in addition to the traditional services. So they were getting both, and we worked with the traditional counselor. And some of those counties, my agency was the traditional provider. Some of them it was not. Some of them used it just for the specialty services that I talked about. Maybe somebody needed co-occurring and it wasn't available through their traditional provider. So they used it for somebody that needed more than that could be provided by their traditional treatment provider, but was not necessarily all of the clients. This is just kind of the data. I think that as far as the population that was served, I think it's going to be pretty indicative of what drug court participants are. They're more males than there are than females. The age group really predominantly is between that 25 and 50 or so. There's a few that's younger and a few that's older, but that's the bulk of our population. So it was pretty indicative of the drug court population as a whole. I think I will stop there and switch over and show you what it looks like, because that's what you guys are probably being like, I don't know. I will if I can get it to fit in there. Yeah. Okay, so that's me. That's my avatar. All of our clinicians use our names. So you will see people that look like they're using a real name. They're probably my staff. All of the participants use a pseudonym. So like Brown Bear, Superman, as long as it's appropriate, we don't care what it is, which just adds to the anonymous and people not knowing. Judge Andrea talked about everybody in her community, my community too, knows each other's business. I know your mom, I know your brother, I know your second and third, fourth girlfriend. Everybody knows everybody's business. But with this kind of system, I'm pulling people for a group from all over, mostly the north, central, northeast part of Missouri, and putting them in the group. So I may be in a group with my neighbor, or that person may be somebody that's down close to St. Louis. They don't know, unless they choose to tell. This is a private platform. They gain access. We grant them access. We do not store any information. HIPAA compliant, private protected server, all of that kind of stuff. So
Can you copy and paste from the comments into your own case notes?
you can.
Can you copy and paste from the comments into your own?
The question is, can you copy and paste from the comments into your own case notes? Yes, you can do that. Sometimes it kind of moves kind of fast, and I'll show you where you can keep the whole conversation also. So you can do that. We do not encourage doing that, and it's just kind of a philosophy on our part, is that I don't go and record. I don't record a live session or group that I have. So I want my clients to feel like they're not being recorded in this session either. That makes sense. These are avatars that I can choose from. There's clothes on those avatars. I can mix and match. You will see that my avatar does not look exactly like any of these avatars. And that's because I've taken a basic avatar, I've taken the hair from another avatar, I've taken a shirt from another place, and put them all together for what I look like. This is, I'll let you know, we've been doing this since 2008, but we've switched platforms a couple of times. And this platform is fairly new to us, so we are still building in it. So it's not completely developed. But this is our mall. And in here, I can purchase different hair. Whoops. Should look where I'm driving. I can purchase different skin tones. I can purchase different ethnic looks, whether that's Asian or African. I can make myself look a little different. And that's one of the reasons that we switched recently, is this platform allows us to customize the avatar more than our old platform did.
Do you find that participants end up looking like themselves? I mean, I don't know if you are able to know that or not.
We know all of our participants. So the question was, do we find that the participants kind of make their avatars look like themselves? And yeah, lots of times. And it really depends upon the person. Well, we all look a little thinner usually. Because I can change that too. I could make myself my real size, but I have chosen not to. But yeah, most of our participants kind of do basically what they look like, but maybe do something that they haven't had enough guts to do. Like, you can get purple hair. You can get green hair. So they change their hair, or they change their clothes, or that kind of thing. So it changes.
For like court-mandated treatment, or I'm a probation officer, so I'm thinking of like for one-on-one
Yep.
office visits. How can you confirm that that's actually the person?
So the question is, how do we confirm and verify that the person that's on the other side of the screen and their avatar is actually the person that's supposed to be there? And what we do is we require a webcam, and we do a video conferencing phone call, and the participants know that we may do that at any time during the service they're being provided, and they have to answer immediately. Now, what I will tell you is we did not start doing that, and one of Judge Andrea's participants showed us that we needed to do that.
It was very evident from the get-go in this session. The counselor's like, "This is not you," and she's like, "Yes, it is." No, it's not. You need to get off. So,
So that's the other thing that's really interesting is that counselor knew that participant. So one of the questions that I always get is, you can't read their body language, you can't read their facial expressions. Don't you think that makes you miss something or could make you miss something? And I'm an administrator now, so I don't do a lot of counseling, but what my counselors will tell you, and you'll get a chance to ask a couple of them, is that they learn a different way to read. It's kind of like what they say, if you lose one sense, your other senses gain. So this counselor knew immediately that this was not her client. And he's not the only one that's done something like that. His was just the most obvious because he couldn't spell, and his girlfriend could. So it was pretty quick and immediate. But we've had you actually have had,
I'd
yeah.
forgotten about that one. The one I was thinking about was a female, and counselor knew right away. But before it was the gentleman that had the literacy issues, and she's like, "This is no way, no way." They were typing fast, they were spelling correctly. It was,
Did you say you provide the webcam for them? So you're part of the grant for the funding, you have the technology to give to them?
It depends. The question was, we provide the webcam. So it depends upon what program you're in. If you're in one of our grants that we've been very fortunate to get several different grants, different areas, and we have been able to have some funding to provide that to people that don't have the means to provide it themselves. Some of our other programs are strictly private pay, and it's just a requirement. For example, in Cole County or Jefferson City, we do a DWI program that's strictly an educational program. It's strictly private pay. It's for first or second time offenders, non-felony offenders that get a DWI, and they have to go through this education course. Well, I'm not paying for any of their equipment, but that's a requirement for them to participate in the program. So it depends. The question is whether we're able to bill Medicaid. In Missouri, we are not. And that is what I will tell you, our biggest hurdle, our biggest barrier is funding sources and traditional funding sources accepting it. And it's one of the things that makes Missouri Drug Court kind of on the forefront of this, and why we've been able to expand and provide services more so with drug court clients than with other clients, and Andy's going to talk about that a little bit, is that Missouri drug court funding looked at this, did their study, decided that they would allow their funding to pay for this service, where our Department of Mental Health has let me have a couple little pilots, but has not allowed it to expand much past that point. Okay, so I haven't showed you much of the platform, but you kind of got the idea. What I was saying is this is a new platform, so we've just been in it a couple months, so it really is not completely developed. But to make things easy, we have groups areas. And these are teleport pads that takes me to different group or individual sessions. Ooh, ah, cool. If only we could get home that easily. So this is one of our counseling areas. And one of our group counseling areas, and this is a couple of my staff members that honestly, Carter is my clinical supervisor in my adult program in Kirksville, Missouri, and he has ran our LBGT group from people all around the areas in our old platform, but he's new to this platform, so they're both figuring things out. Stacy is my program director, and she's also just figuring out this side of the platform. But how we talk is I go down here and I type. Does anybody in the audience want to try this? You can come up and come on up here.
I am a nerd, that's why I'm here.
Okay, sit down.
I'm gonna out my, I feel like I'm in my mom's basement right now.
Okay, so see that bar?
Okay,
So type in there.
okay.
Just say hi. Tell them what your name is.
Okay, and then enter.
Yep. Okay, now if you,
Oh,
so now you can tell Carter is
typing.
replying to
He is.
you. So that helps
Oh.
you kind of work around the conversation. Because that's one of the things, like, you know, when you're on a conference call and everybody starts talking at once, or no, everybody's waiting for somebody to talk. So that kind of helps you know somebody's typing right then, so you kind of wait for them to respond. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, but it's so far-fetched, I'm just not getting it. I love it. Is Carter there, or Stacy there, or?
Carter and Stacy are, it could be anywhere. So they are probably both in Kirksville, Missouri right now.
How do they know?
you had them. You had
Yeah,
'em
I
ready.
told them, hey, meet me.
Oh, you requested.
Yeah, yeah. I said, hey, can anybody show up for this time?
Right.
I scheduled a
Yeah.
group. That's exactly right.
Okay, I got it, sorry.
So, and that's a good question, is how do people know when to get there? Sorry, I didn't repeat the question again, but the question was kind of the logistics of how do people know where to go, when to go? And it's not a whole lot different than our traditional counselor, is you have an appointment on Tuesday at 11 o'clock in Orange Room at the treatment facility, only ours is at group area A. And I can walk there, or I can fly there. You want to learn how to fly?
Yeah, I do. How would you not want to fly? All right.
Or I can teleport there. So a lot of our participants, I'm showing you that there's lots of things you can do, and I'm not a techie person, so there's lots of stuff you can do that I don't do because I end up dressed funny or looking weird or that kind of thing. But a lot of our participants are even less tech savvy than I am, and they get there, they teleport to where they need to be, they sit down, and then they leave. And that's all they're going to do, and that's fine. Yeah. The question is, can they use their smartphones? And the answer is right now, no, they can't. That is my next big goal, is to make this mobile accessible. But it is not as easy as you would think. Mobile devices, they don't speak the same language, is what I'm told by people that know what they're talking about. So that is not as easy a switch over as you would think it would be. Even like tablets and stuff, it doesn't work yet. This platform is supposed to have the capability that they're working towards that, which was another one of the reasons we chose this when we switched, is that I hope is closer on the horizon than it has been in the past.
John, ask them what they like about this and what they don't like about it.
Can we wait for that
She's
question?
gonna teach me how to fly, Ashley.
Because I'm gonna, okay, so.
Whoa. She just flew.
Okay, so tell them
Okay.
thank you, and we're gonna go see some other stuff for a little bit. Because they're not going to have as much experience about that. Actually, we could get Carter's thoughts on that, but I'm hoping to introduce you to a client that's actually using it.
All right, ready.
Okay, so stand up.
Okay, I
See?
see that. Yep, stand.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Turn around.
All right.
Right with
Oh,
the
okay. Oh, arrows.
arrows.
All right, okay.
Okay, see that little disc over there?
Yep.
Transport to that. Or okay,
Wait,
click
wait,
on it.
Okay, all right.
See that?
Yep.
Okay, do that.
Whoa, all right. Now beam me up.
Your name's not Scotty, is
No, it's not. All right, okay.
it? Okay, so then turn around.
Okay.
Use your arrows.
Yeah. Where am I going?
See that last disc over there?
Yeah. Can I just click on it? Do
Yep.
I have to walk all the way? I don't want to walk
You have
all the
to-
way over there. I mean, that's lazy. Why would I? If I don't need to walk. I just figured I need to have a conversation with Jeremiah about my commuting that I do.
Okay, you want to click on that chair over there?
Okay. That one?
Yep.
Okay. Some.
No, it's not
let's see.
being, just walk over there. Okay.
Okay.
It's being stubborn for some
Man.
reason.
Whoa.
Oh, well.
All right.
So this is Michelle. She's one of my longer-term counselors, and she does this full-time. This is what she does. She's a portal counselor. So one of the questions, you want to tell her that you're not actually
yeah.
me? Because I guess she could video conferences, but I doubt that she does.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the questions we wanted to ask was, how does she like it, right?
So this would be an individual session.
Right. So, and
She's a counselor or a client?
she is a counselor.
Oh, I was curious about like the client.
Yeah.
The last one's your client.
No, the last ones were staff members too. And I thought that she was going to have a client here to be able to talk to us. But I would guess that her client had to go because I checked earlier and they were in a session. And Brenda, one of my other portal counselors, she has a client there that she's talking to, but she's not as open and didn't want to talk to us. So, have I answered all the questions? There was one question that I think maybe I skipped over. Did I answer all your questions? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I see the flying button right here. I'm starting to figure out can I try it if I click on this? Whoa,
Yep.
whoa.
Except we're going to lose our conversation.
Oh, no. I'm hovering. I feel like Iron Man. Oh, where'd I go? Now I'm a little bit more like Mary
things-
Poppins. All right.
Some things you
Stop it.
get stuck in, and some things you can fly through. Like those trees, you can probably fly through.
Oh, there it is. Ah!
If she is looking in that direction. So it's just like if I was in person. If they're doing it behind my back or not in my line of vision, I can't see it. So one of the one of the questions was, can the counselor see what they're doing right now? And that's what my answer was. So one of the other questions that I frequently get is, so clients can get on there and not be supervised, or clients can get on there and talk to each other. I'm like, yes, they can.
They can do that in the real world, too.
That's usually my answer.
Right, yeah.
See, you can do this next time.
Clients like to
So,
talk to each other.
Do you mean like in the middle of groups, so like maybe they aren't participating and they're chatting by themselves?
no, because their chat is displayed, so we can see that. But if they stayed after group, or if the platform is not closed. We could close the platform, but we choose not to. We've had way more examples of people getting on there and playing and running into someone, or getting on there just because they're kind of having a hard time. And this is something to do. I can go and change how I look as an avatar, or I can play around a little bit, and so that's a positive thing. Or maybe run into somebody and have an encouraging conversation kind of thing. So
It's a joke. It's a reference to the old commercial. Yeah. Yeah.
you can't are you stuck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, like I said, that happens sometimes. We're
Thank you.
going to
All
have
right.
to
Very cool.
probably.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. This is the chat that you can see the whole conversation. I was telling you that I can see the whole conversation. Where what we were doing was back and forth, and if you didn't catch it, then you lost it. So this is very helpful for people that it takes a little bit longer. Some people, like Judge was talking about, the group, keeping up with that chat is not, it's more frustrating than it is therapeutic for them. Few, but some. After people get acclimated, they're usually able to do it. Early on, I think we've had 2 people that we said, I don't think this is for them. But it was early on and was before we realized how to modify things and how to make it. And we've served some people with pretty low functioning levels. Some of them we don't do group with. Some of them we do, and it works too.
Are you saying like sometimes the conversation can move so fast that, and that even just typing into it, you
Yeah.
miss like whatever.
By the time I've read and processed, if I'm slower at that, then 3 other people have said something by the time I've thought about how I'm going to type out what I'm going to say.
So do you, when you're putting people into groups, do you take into consideration maybe the age difference and their comfort with technology? So you wouldn't want to put an older person in with a younger person if the older person will feel like they won't have a voice if they're not as comfortable with technology?
So the question was, do we kind of take that into consideration when we're putting people in groups? And try to put people in groups that are maybe older or not as fluent, and maybe younger people that are more fluent. And I think that really that's so individualized and the counselor may think about those things a little bit. But in general, our groups are more topic-centered than they are, unless it's one of those specialty groups like the LBGT or the veterans or something like that. We're not a large program where we have, 5 or 6 groups going on at one time. So we're still having groups at all times during the day, during the evening, sometimes on the weekend. But we probably don't have that amount of variety at this point.
Are the groups that you're providing?
Sorry, this is being recorded, so they wanted us to make sure questions were on the mic.
All right. So are the groups that you're providing, are they mostly sort of process groups? So have you tried to use any kind of manualized curriculum, and how has that worked out?
Okay, I don't have to repeat the question. Thank you, Angie. We've done both. So the DWI program that I talked about, that was an education program only. What it is like a 12-hour course. I have an anger management. I have a substance education for young adults too. That's kind of the same thing. And we have written assignments that they have to do, and they send them in. I'm really interested in trying to do MRT with this. Haven't got there yet. Took a step closer today, though. If they have a computer, we can help them set up an email. We can email them the assignments. They can email them back to us. They can process them in group. We have a screen that we can load things on. And it's like sitting in this. It's an amphitheater kind of thing, and we can display their work up there. We can go through that. So we have the ability to do that.
Is the Avatar platform?
I'm just going to sit here by you.
I'm probably going to happen the most. Is the Avatar platform, so like MRT, which is really sort of social interactive, is the Avatar platform the way you're going to try to implement MRT, or are you going to use like live video or audio? What's your plan?
My plan is going to depend a lot on what the creators of MRT will let me do. I have told them I would really like to try it this way. They have not said yes yet, but they are doing it through teleconference or video conferencing sites. So, and here's the question that a lot of people ask is, why not just do it through video conferencing? And initially, there's two answers to that. But our first answer was this: our whole premise is access, and we started with very rural areas. It's growing for different reasons to other areas. Internet service is not necessarily great in those areas. So being able to do this is one thing. When you add voice to that, it takes a significant larger amount of bandwidth. And when you put video with that, it blows it through the roof. So we still have some people that have to go to McDonald's to do this. We really wouldn't be able to reach them with video conferencing. So I had to get out and get back in because we got stuck. And I said, sometimes the world goes down, not very often, but sometimes, and people are like, well, what happens when you have that? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like when your counselor's sick and you don't get a session or whatever, someone else covers or whatever. What else was I going to show you guys? Oh, I was going to show you the amphitheater.
Have you kept metrics on how often the system has glitches where you weren't able to provide treatment?
Have not.
Okay.
It's not very often. It's probably less than I run into snow days in traditional treatment. Well, I know it's less than the snow days that I have in treatment, but I do live in Missouri, so.
We had a weird rash of winter snow days this year. We had a weird winter here in the Portland metro area, Salem area.
Now, what I will tell you is everything that could go wrong for me in the last 24 hours, starting with me trying to get to the airplane, has. So.
The real airplane or the virtual one?
The real one that got me here in person. So this is the screen that I was telling you about. I can program different, and I can run that from that little laptop that's sitting up there. And our participants can just sit down, and we can display it like that. Okay,
So, Judge talked about drug court. What does that look like? That right there?
We don't do actual drug court virtually. I mean, they're there in person with me in court. It's just that their treatment outside of that 1 day a week is this way. Our counselor's in Kirksville, which is an hour and 45, 2 hours. So she's up there. There's other counselors that do groups. They're up there. They're at their house, wherever they are. And my clients are at their house. We have internet at the courthouse if they need to come to the courthouse, at the coffee shop, wherever they need to be, work, and get their counseling at that time.
Okay, you guys want to see stats, or you want to hear some testimony from some actual clients? Always depends upon the group. Stats? Okay, so I showed you that. These are satisfaction surveys from I've explained that I had several grants. This one is from our actual Portal 2, or Portal Plus grant. We had outside, I'm not showing it to you. Had outside evaluators, so I didn't doctor the numbers here, except for that one. So this is the satisfaction from our clients on a couple of questions. Some of the questions out of it they pulled out for the report. Still not? Give it a minute. I can turn it around. Can you guys see it that way? That everything that goes wrong, that could go wrong, is going wrong? I'm sorry, how long does this session last? Till 11:30?
As long as you want. Stay here.
So I'm about to take all the time. 11:45? Okay. So blue is very satisfied, red is satisfied. So most of our clients are reporting high levels of satisfaction. This one I did do this one, and because I wanted to compare my traditional treatment to my virtual treatment, so I picked a couple sites that were kind of rural, like the areas that we were serving virtually, some of my clinics. So the top bar, the purplish top one, is all of my virtual consumers. This is a couple years ago. The next line is Sheridan County, which is Judge Andrea's county. The next line, the maroony one, is Lynn County, which is in the same circuit as Judge Andrea, just the county above hers. And I have a traditional office there, a small one counselor place. And then the blue is Clark County, which is also a very rural, up very north. It's basically Iowa. We just say they're Iowa. But so as you can see, the satisfaction that I was getting back, the virtual is as high or higher than some of my traditional. And from the get-go, all I've tried to show is that virtual counseling can be as effective as traditional. I'm not trying to say this is better. I'm just saying we can serve people that can't get traditional treatment, and we can be effective. So in our grant, our ending findings was 97 reported at least a 60% reduction. That was kind of if you do grants, you like set a bar, and that was it, a 60% reduction at 6-month follow-up. But what really that was 95.8% reporting complete abstinence. 99% reported no additional legal offenses while enrolled. So this one I have to explain a little bit, just because I could just go on, but I just want to be completely honest. 77.6% graduated. That's a pretty good graduation rate. To be completely honest, that's more like 76%, because what we had a number of clients that were still participating at the end of the grant, and we had to put them in one category or the other. So the evaluators decided, because they'd been in for 2 years, they were getting close to done. So, and I think one of those did not go on to complete successfully. So the true number is more like 76. But that I took reports that our Office of State Court Administrators compile for the success rate or the graduation rate of drug court clients throughout the Missouri, and I added it up. That's comparing to a 59% graduation rate Missouri statewide. Little caveat there, that is including a small number of family court, which your success rate is not as high in family court ever, but there wasn't very many in that either. But I had no way of pulling that data out to be able to get a true just drug court number. Oh, see, I was going to do the demo later. It is you. You've already.
So when Judge Andrea and Kathy approached me, I work for the Office of State Courts Administrator's office in Jefferson City, and I staff the Drug Court Coordinating Commission that oversees all the funding statewide for drug courts. It's about $6.4 million. And they approached me. This was my very first year on this job, and I thought, what are they? Somebody's trying to pull one over on me and make me look foolish. So I had to go back to the chair of that commission, who was a Supreme Court judge, and I was trying to explain this concept to him, and he pulled his big rim glasses down and looked at me, and he said, "You want me to pay for what?" And trying to explain this and then seeing it are two different things. So the commission did agree to do a pilot. Our office was tasked with studying the pilot, and we found the same outcomes as what Preferred had, was that it was just as effective as in-person treatment. So it is available statewide now, and we have some outliers that are participating. We also have the hearing impaired or deaf participants that this is very beneficial for.
Yeah, that was an interesting discovery, because honestly, and I learned a lot about the DHH population through this. Because there's very few where I am from, so I have served DHH population almost zero. I could remember one client whose mother was of that population. So that was like a aha moment when we had two actually in drug court at the same time, completely different areas. One was hard of hearing, one was completely deaf. And our counselor had to, the sentence syntax is different. So she had to learn a lot of how to do things differently. And the client had to learn a lot too. She was one of them that we really took a lot of time to, but it really was kind of an aha moment of, we can provide services that these people have never had access to before.
So this is available statewide. Preferred Family Health Care is the only vendor that's approved through our commission to provide these services. But someone down in Southeast Missouri can access and join these groups as well as anyone that they service themselves. So we can go through outside providers. Their funding, which I was curious about how much it was going to cost, of course, with overseeing the fund, but it is the same price as what they charge for in-person groups, which is very enticing for some of the outlying counties that are interested in this. Some other things that we're providing in Missouri with telehealth is medication-assisted treatment. We've got a rural county in the middle of Missouri that had no physicians whatsoever that were willing to prescribe their participants the anti-craving medication. So that county became very creative and started partnering with an agency in St. Louis called ARCA, and they provide medication-assisted treatment. They have a doctor on staff, and what they're doing with that is basically they have a nurse that is contracted by the drug court, and she sits in the office at the treatment provider and sits there as they have a webcam with the doctor in St. Louis. And they talk back and forth. If the participant is found to be appropriate for MAT, let's say Vivitrol, he will prescribe the medication. The nurse will administer the shot there in the treatment provider's office, and all those meetings are private and HIPAA compliant. But it's been a very good partnership for that county that had nothing else available. I'll just go back one second. This is the checklist that the treatment provider uses when they're just trying to determine if the person is appropriate for MAT services. And this is basically just a flow chart of how that system is working. So they have an intake assessment, and we mandate all treatment providers in Missouri to screen everyone for MAT services. Medicaid does pay for MAT. We also have a special fund in Missouri for MAT services, and they can also bill it through drug court funding. They do the telemed appointment with a doctor in St. Louis. And they also, I can't tell which one to look at. Like I said, if the doctor prescribes the medication, they may order a blood test to make sure that they haven't been using opiates. And then they do the prescription, the orders, and then basically have the appointments just like they would in front of a doctor. They're also partnering with our Missouri Department of Corrections for participants who are being released from 120-day treatment programs within the Department of Corrections. So they're getting a pre-release shot of Vivitrol and then coming out into the drug court program. The judge, the probation officers, the treatment court administrator, and the treatment provider are all sitting around doing a teleconference with a participant while they're still in prison prior to their release. And that way the participant has a good idea of what they're going to have to expect when they are released. It's been working out very well for that program. Something new for Missouri is called HEAT, and it's a new cognitive behavioral therapy program. It's manualized. It's for black males between the ages of 19 and 29, and it focuses on trauma and accountability. We're working with the Center for Court Innovations to try and provide this to participants in rural areas that would not have the opportunity to have an in-person group with their peers. Are there any questions? I know we've run a little bit over.
Nope, I think we got 10 more minutes, right?
I have to go.
So did you create the avatar platform, or did you buy it from a third-party vendor? How did you get that avatar world?
He wants to play on it some more.
No, I'm good. I mean, I do, but I'll segue that for later.
We rent the platform. We rent the platform from a server company. They do. It's connected to Second Life. So you seem to be from somebody in here was familiar with Second Life. Oh, maybe it was our IT guy.
Okay, yeah.
So it's very much like Second Life, so they've used that same technology. And basically what the industry has done is they've taken a multi-billion-dollar industry, the gaming industry, and taken that technology that's being developed in that to use for, I would say, something that's a little more productive, but other people may have a different opinion. And using it to provide the service. So we rent and basically what it is it's blank wasteland, and then we develop it. So when I said this is a new platform and it's not completely developed, my goal is to kind of have a coastal city area that kind of goes through a
Who wouldn't want
rural area and then to the beach, because one of the things that Angie pointed out to me before is our other platform was very rural. And we use rural looking.
So you're building Oregon in your Second Life, or maybe Hawaii. I know,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. You just hang out on the beach, watch the birds. It's awesome.
So you rent the space from this third party, and then they provide you with the contract, or basically that says it's secure and all the HIPAA compliance and all that. So you gave them the details of what you needed, and then they provide that. Okay.
Yep. Not very many people are using it for this purpose. There are a few private providers that use Second Life for coaching, personal coaching and counseling and stuff like that. But Second Life couldn't be private,
Right.
was not HIPAA compliant, so we had to use something else. But like when I say the developing, like the trees, the buildings, that kind of thing, we build. Like I'm pretty lucky to have some of my counselors that's pretty tech savvy. I've picked them purposely because they are. I've taken all of my counselors out of my traditional counseling that kind of showed that they had an interest in this, or they had a knack, and they build what they want or what their clients want.
Yeah. I think my kids could do it with Minecraft. So right? Is that the similar? It's
Yes.
a similar. Okay.
Yes. Okay, I think that's kind of the end of the information that we're providing. I have testimonies from different clients from all around the services, so I can play that, or you can leave.
Experience working with juveniles or adolescents in this type of structure?
Yes, that's where we started. That was our first grant, and we had a lot of success there. The reason that we have not continued to expand there goes back to the question of the funding sources. So why we've been able to continue to grow in the adult population and specifically in the drug court population is that Missouri made a funding source available to us. So our outcomes from our initial grant that was specifically with juveniles was very, very good. The question was, is that with SUD or alcohol and drug or mental health? And all of the services that we've provided besides some anger management and stuff has been SUD. Not because the mental health, it would not be just as well served in this situation, but because what I do is predominantly SUD, so that's where our niche is.
And we have had a couple of juveniles that we've had run through a juvenile kind of drug court program, and they have received these services as their counseling portion.
Okay, so I'm going to play the testimony. If you have any questions, raise your hand. If you want to go, that's fine too. We're just doing whatever we want to at this point.
At first, it's just signing in on a computer, and then you get in there and into the discussions, and you have other veterans who discuss their problems, and you come to the understanding that, we're all alike. We all got the same problems, addiction.
Learning a virtual world for me was pretty easy to catch on to how it works and what you need to do to get to places. And it was very well explained on how to do it.
Learning the virtual world level of difficulty, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 was probably a 3. It's a pretty simple program to use. I would say learning to sit down in the chair is probably the hardest thing on there. And once you get that whipped, you're good. For somebody that had never turned a computer on, to be able to get in and, use the virtual world and actually type, it's pretty easy. It is pretty simple. The program's geared for people that don't have a lot of computer experience.
Okay, for me, I think the portal service, not having to drive, is the biggest thing. I don't have a driver's license, so with the time constraints that the drug court program puts us in, driving and all that would cost me a lot more time than what I'm already doing. So for me, being able to log in where I'm at is perfect. It keeps me and frees my time off of me working all the time. It's hard for me to get away and get to the, like you said, the mainstream places where they do the programs and stuff. It's much easier for the portal.
It's really cool because I get to wake up in the morning, I get to get my cup of coffee in my own house, and I get to go sit at my computer, and I get to talk about my rehabilitation with a real person over lines. And it's really easy because it works on my schedule.
It allows me to have treatment, when I can't get around or, I'm busy. It allows me to access a counselor, and it's as easy as logging on, choosing an avatar, and going.
The portal service is more convenient for me than having to drive back and forth. Because with driving back and forth to a center, it would be a little bit harder for me. But with the computer system, it makes it a lot easier.
I live 30 miles from my drug court. So having access to the virtual world and not having to make an extra 2 trips a week over here has really helped. It's saved me money, it's saved me time, it's allowed me to get 40 hours in a week at work where I would have had to have taken off and come, over here for classes. So that's been great.
Okay, well, portal's been very convenient as far as being able to work it in around my work schedule, because there are some day classes and some evening classes, so you're able to kind of work around your schedule. And it's also nice that you don't have to drive anywhere, because gas these days is very expensive. It's nice that you can do it in your own home and, the comfortability of your own home. And I can do my counseling in my pajamas if I want to. And I like.
Also, I like the portal because it's anonymous more than some of the other groups are. I mean, the people looking at your avatar, if they form any opinions of you, it's of your avatar. So they don't know you, they don't see you, they don't, they only take into account what you're saying on group. They don't take into account what you look like, what you come from, any of your issues other than what you have in that group. Because lots of times my issues don't come out because I'm face to face with the people, and I hold some reserves and thinking people may form an opinion of me. I let a lot more things out online because they don't know you.
I'm a lot more honest when I don't have a group of people actually sitting around me. So, when the counselors in the virtual world ask a question, they get a totally honest answer from me. And I don't know that the face-to-face counselors always get that.
So you're able to open up and be able to say what you got to say. You know, it's actually more relaxing and more open-minded for you with the computer system than it is on a face-to-face basis. To me, I can open up more.
I'm not very good expressing myself face-to-face with somebody, and the anonymity of the group really made it able for me to just open up completely, tell stories about my past or, you know, my goals for the future. I guess a lot of people that I know personally are like me, and they have a hard time talking to somebody face to face, and I think that it would allow them to be able to learn more and have a better understanding of what's going on in their recovery.
The online seems to be a little bit more honest. You seem to be a little bit more in touch with exactly what you feel versus being in a classroom where you're a little hesitant on really getting your true feelings out.
Virtual world's helped me in my recovery because I never really talked to a lot of people. I mean, I went out and partied a little bit, but I never had like friends that were sober.
The veterans group is really special because we all seem to share the same common ground, and it's nice to be in a group of people that have struggled through the same things in life that you have, and that have been through the same stories that you have, same places. It's a nice common ground, and it makes you feel comfortable.
But there's sometimes someone will log in with a problem on a group, and we got more from that than we would have gotten from any case study or anything they could have read us out of a book.
It's extremely important for people who have served this country to feel a connection level with other veterans and know that they're not alone in this recovery process. And for someone who's been through military training or for government, they need that.
It's just like being back in the service. You've got a camaraderie there.
It's everything that you want to help you in your recovery without physically being in a class size, you know, where you're face to face with somebody. If that bothers you, I would tell them that it's a good way to go.
I would definitely recommend Portal to anybody that, you know, needed counseling services. You know, the convenience of it is a big bonus. You know, anybody that maybe like sometimes has trouble opening up or letting people in, you know, Portal is a really easy way to kind of do that, to kind of get to your core issues without, you know, the stress or, you know, self-consciousness that we get sometimes. You know, it's a very good way to be able to open up and kind of dig deep into yourself without, you know, that wall that we put up.
It saves us an abundance of gas, time, which I don't have. I mean, time, as you know, I work a lot of hours. If I had to drive to certain towns every time to take one of these classes, I don't think I'd be this far in the program. I think I would have missed a lot of classes. I lost my job. My kids would have suffered. There would have been a lot of stuff that would have had to lost time and suffered that I've gained from being able to log on.
But overall, I think that we've been very fortunate. We've had good results. And I think the more that we continue to work through this process, it is only going to get better, not only for Preferred Family in Randolph County, but for our community, for our clients, and most of all for our children.
Would I recommend Virtual World to others? Yes. It helped me a lot through my program and on my way to sobriety.
Oh, I would definitely recommend it. It saved me money, it saved me time, and like I said, it's allowed me to be more honest in my recovery because you're not sitting there with a bunch of people sitting around you just judging you. And honestly, that's the way I feel when I'm in group with a bunch of people. I feel judged, and I hate that. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
I've become more independent. I have made more progress in with my children. I've just become the person I should be than I was a year ago. You know, if I could say, why didn't I do this a year ago? And, you know, just think about how I was a year ago than I am now. I wish I could have done this a year ago and not had to do the things that I have to do now. But you know what? For this program, I've came a long way, and it's really made me brighten. myself up. I mean, I've woke up and seen the world and seen the light ahead of me instead of falling back.